Yes, very good morning, girls. So in today's session, we are going to continue with the previous session, which we have already discussing about a Sunday morning by Serafin and Joaquin Alvarez Quintero. We have seen about the earth, and even we have just I have explained in about this sunny morning the play. So here the points which we have I have already expressed. Here we see that Serafin and Joaquin. They were two brothers and were celebrated playwrights of the early 20th century, and they were famously called as, or they were known as, Golden Boys of Madrid Theatre. So, where is Madrid Theatre? So, it is in Spain, and they have written about 200 plays. How many plays they have written? 200 plays or dramas, which depicts the lifestyle, the mannerism, and the language and also of the Andalusian people of southern Spain. So we have discussed about what is this Andalusia, and it is a region in the Spain and the community. So based upon this people, especially the climate over there, about their lifestyle, the mannerism and language, we see that both the authors have depicted. Have written the 200 plays, and later we have seen about the important other popular plays which they have written: the Mary Heart, the Flower, and followed by Apple of His Eye, the Galley Slave, 100 years ago, and many other poems which they plays which they have written. So here coming to this play by Sunday Morning by Quintero brothers. It is a both tragical and a funny play, girls. So we have already seen that. So it is about the story about the Donna Laura and Don Gonzalo, who were the lovers, okay, when they were at the young age. And later we see that, but unfortunately, they had to be separated. It is by the force of the parents, or some, it is not by the misunderstanding, as which we have discussed in previous session. So in the play we see that they accidentally they meet at a park in the Madrid after many years, and what is the conversation goes on between them, and how do they react, though they know, though they identify each other. So what is the reaction, how do they react when they identify each other? So that things we have already discussed about that. So the playwright, this playwright, it brings out the conversation between Donna Laura and Don Gonzalo. It is not only in a comical manner, it is not only just a comical manner, but when we just read, okay, when we just go through the entire play till at the end, we can feel the pain of the separation of Don Gonzalo and Donna Laura, the male and the female protagonist. What how do they had felt that pain of the separation, and though they will identify each other finally at the end. So why do they don't reveal their identity? What is why, what is the reason? So we are going to see about that. So here we have already discussed about this point about the author we have seen, and I think we have completed with, so the characteristics: Donna Laura, made by name called as Petra, and Don Gonzalo and Juanito, his servant. Okay, so these things we have seen. So page number 35 we have already completed, and page number 36 we need to start with Don Gonzalo. So girls, I don't want, I myself will read because there are some technical issues when I ask your students to read it. So I myself will read it for this time. Okay. So we have seen in our previous session in page number 30, 34 and 35 that we have discussed. Seen a Sunday morning in a retired corner of a park in Madrid. Donna Laura, she enters the park and she starts feeding the pigeons. So you have seen the pigeons name, the sparrows, the gluttons, and and other pigeons we have seen there. Then later we see a maid by name called as Petra. She just moves to meet the guard in the park, because that's what we have seen. So we'll move to page number 36, Don Gonzalo. So those who have the textbook can go through it, and those who don't have the textbook can find it on your mobile screen. So this is what exactly find in a textbook, girls. So Don Gonzalo, idling their time away, they should be saying mass. You can sit here, senor. There is only a lady. Donna Laura turns her head and listens. So John Gonzalo replies, I want Juanito. I want a bench to myself. So Juanito says, but there is none. So John Gonzalo, that one over there is mine. There are three priests sitting there. Rout them out, have they gone? No, indeed, they are talking. So for one more questions, you'll be getting it, girls. There are three priests sitting there. So how many priests were sitting in the park? So the answer is the three priests. So underline this. So Don Gonzalo replies, just as if they were glued to the seat, no hope of their living. Come this way, Juanito. They walk toward the bird's right. So Donna Laura indignantly look out. So Don Gonzalo, he replies, are you speaking to me, Senora? Yes, to you. What do you wish? You have scared away the birds who were feeding on my grubs. What do I care about the birds? But I do. This is a public path. So Donna Laura replies, then why do you complain that the priests have taken your bench? So Don Gonzalo, Senora, we have not met. I cannot imagine why you take the liberty of addressing me. Come, Juanito, both go outright. What an ill-natured old man. Why must people get so fuzzy and cross when they reach a certain age? Looking toward right, I am glad. He lost that bench too. Serves him right for scaring the birds. He is furious. Yes, find a seat if you can. Poor man, he is wiping the perspiration from his face. Here he comes, a carriage would not raise more dust than his feet. Enter Don Gonzalo and Juanito by right and walk toward left. So Don Gonzalo asks, have the priest gone at Juanito? So Juanito replies, no indeed, senor, they are still there. The authorities should place more benches here for these sunny mornings. So underline this point, girls. The authorities should place more benches here for these sunny mornings. Well, I suppose I must resign myself and sit on the bench with the old lady. Muttering to himself, he sits at the extreme end of Donna Laura bench and looks at her indignantly, touches his hat as he greets good morning. So the play begins here in a sunny morning, which we have already described, a park in the Madrid. So Donna Laura, here the description of Donna Laura, they have given as she's a handsome 70-year-old lady. She enters the park from the right side. So next we are going to see about the male protagonist by name called as Don Gonzalo. He enters the park from the left side. So along with the servant by name called as Juanito. So what was the servant name? Don Gonzalo's servant name? It is Juanito. So here they have given a description of Don Gonzalo. He is an old gentleman of 70 years. So underline this point. He is a old gentleman of 70 years, gouty and impatient. So here you get the meaning for it. Gouty, suffering from inflammation of joints. Suffering from inflammation of joints, idling, do nothing. Gouty, suffering from inflammation of joints. Suffering from inflammation of joints. Yes. So here we see the Don Gonzalo. He's an old gentleman of 70 years. He is very impatient man, and he leans upon Juanito's arm and he drags his feet as somewhat as he walks. Okay, so it means that due to the old age, so he walks with the support of his servant. So after Don Gonzalo, he enters the park. He finds that the bench on which he used to sit regularly is being occupied by the three priests. So who has occupied the bench? The three priests has occupied the bench. So he finds that the bench is no more for him and it has been already occupied by the priests. So for one more question, you'll be getting girls. So after seeing this, Gonzalo, he gets very irritated girl. So that is very important. So we have seen the description of how they have given for Donna Laura. So the description for Donna Laura, what they have given was she was a handsome 70 years old lady. And here we see that she has that patience. She has the patience, and though she is in an old age, the way she thinks, it looks like to be very young. Okay, so but here we see that when Don Gonzalo, he comes to know that the bench is being occupied by three other priests, so he gets irritated and he expresses his annoyance by remarking or by telling that the priests are idling their time instead of sitting in the church. So what they are doing without instead of being in the church and doing the mass, conducting the mass, what they are doing, they're idling the time. So what is the meaning of idling? It means that doing nothing. So instead of they are are doing the mass in the church. So the Don Gonzalo, he feels very irritated and he expresses that his feelings that they are idling their time without doing the mass in the church. So later we see that Juanito, okay, the servant of Gonzalo, he suggests that Gonzalo can sit on the bench on which Donna Laura is seated. So here we can find in the picture that Donna Laura is sitting at a side. So even there we can find there is a little bit of the place or left place there. So Gonzalo's servant, he suggests Don Gonzalo to go and sit in that place. But Gonzalo tells that he wants a bench for himself, girl. So this point is very important. See here, what is a reaction given by Don Gonzalo when Juanito tells that he should sit in the place where Donna Laura is sitting. So he tells that he needs a place, he wants a bench for himself. See, but Juanito couldn't find there any other benches in the park. So all the benches there are being occupied. So without any alternatives, Gonzalo, what does he do? He decides to sit on the bench where Donna Laura is already been seated. Yes, when we are seeing about the characteristics of Don Gonzalo here, he is something like very childish behavior. So see, usually the children's only when we travel, when we go in a bus or in a train, they fight for the window seat. Usually it happens, right? They always wish to sit near the window seat. They ask for, I want to sit at the end, I wanted to see what is passing through. So here even Don Gonzalo is he didn't have that adjustable character. He tells that he wants a bench for himself. But when Juanito, he couldn't find any other benches in that place without any alternatives. Without any alternative, here we see that he decides to sit on the bench where Donna Laura is already seated. So when here we see where while Gonzalo, he comes towards the bench where Laura is already seated there. As Gonzalo, as he is arriving, he scared the birds. What did he do? He scared the birds, which were very busy having the breadcrumbs there. So provided, which was being provided by Donna Laura. See, by seeing this, Donna Laura, she gets very annoyed and with Gonzalo, and she criticizes his actions. Who criticizes? Donna Laura. She starts to criticize the actions of Gonzalo, but Don Gonzalo, he replies to Laura with impolite manner. So that is very important. See here we have seen that it is a usual thing when someone arrives when the birds are having, what will happen, they will just flew away if someone arrives. So that is a natural thing which happens. But here when Donna Laura, she started to criticize, she was annoyed by the actions which was being made by Don Gonzalo, and she criticizes the actions of Don Gonzalo. So here we see Don Gonzalo, he replies to Laura in an impolite manner. So another characteristics here we can see that he replies in a very impolite manner. So Gonzalo, he seems to be very rude when he replies to Laura. Okay, then one important point here is that Gonzalo actions, it shows that he is a very ill-natured person. So that is why already they have given here Don Gonzalo. Before that, here you can find what an ill-natured old man. So Donna Laura tells that here. So his actions, by seeing the actions of Don Gonzalo, Donna Laura tells that he was an ill-natured old man. Yes. So we'll continue with next. Can someone read it, girls? Can someone read? Yes, ma. Thank you. So here we see that in this page, Donna Laura, what you hear again. So don't repeat that we have not met. So Donna Laura replies, I was responding to your salute. Good morning should be answered by good morning, and that is all you should have said. You should have asked permission to sit on this bench, which is mine. The benches here are public property. Why you said the one the priest have was yours? Very well, very well. I have nothing more to say between his teeth. Senile old lady, she ought to be at home knitting and counting her beads. Don't grumble anymore. I'm not going to leave just to please you. So still the conversation between the male protagonist and the female protagonist moves on. Brushing the dust from his shoes with his handkerchief, if the ground were sprinkled a little, it would be an improvement. Do you use your handkerchief as a shoe brush? So Don Gonzalo replies, why not? So Donna Laura, to use a shoe brush as a handkerchief. So Don Gonzalo, what right have you to criticize my actions? So Donna Laura replies, our neighbor's right. So from here, do you use your handkerchief as a shoe brush? From here, you can underline girls. So this part you will get for your exam for the reported speech. So you need to write it in the indirect speech. So this you can just underline these points. So in many years, previous years question paper, this part has been appeared. Report the following. So Juanito, my book, I do not care to listen to nonsense. So Donna Laura, you are very polite. So Don Gonzalo, pardon me, Senora, but never interfere with what does not concern you. And later, still the conversation continues. I generally say what I think, and more to same effect, give me the books, Janito. So Janito replies, here, Senor. Juanito takes a book from his pocket, hands it to Don Gonzalo, then exits by right. Don Gonzalo, casting indignant glances at Donna Laura, puts on an enormous pair of glasses, takes from his pocket a reading glass, adjusts both to suit him, and opens his book. So Donna Laura replies, I thought you were taking out a telescope. Was that you? Your sight must be keen. Keener than yours is. Yes, evidently. So Don Gonzalo replies, ask the hares and partridges. So Donna Laura, how do you add? So hares and partridges. So here you can find the meaning for hares and partridges. Hares. They belong to leopards family. Hares are classified in the same family as rabbits. So the meanings for hares, hares. They belong to leopards family. Hares are classified in the same family as rabbits. So partridge is a bird with a round body and a short tail that is sometimes hunted for food or for sport. A bird with a round body and a short tail that is sometimes hunted for food or for sport. Partridges. So that is the meaning for partridges. Yes. How's the hares and partridges? How do you and I did and even now? So Jorolola replies, oh yes, of course. So John Gonzalo, yes, Senora. Every Sunday I take my gun and jog, you understand, and go to one of my estates near Aravaca and kill time. So Aravaca, a neighborhood city of Madrid. A neighborhood city of Madrid. Girls, write it down in your textbook. Aravaca, neighborhood city of Madrid. Yes. The Donor replies, is kill time, that is all you kill. Do you think so? I could show you a wild boar's head in my study. So Donor replies, yes, and I could show you a tiger skin in my voucher. What does that prove? So the meaning for voucher, VOUGOIR, women's private room. VOUGOIR, women's private room. Women's private room. Yes. Very well, Senora. Please allow me to read enough conversation. So still the continuation of Donna Laura and Don Gonzalo. Well, you subside then. So Don Gonzalo. But first I shall take a pinch of snuff. Takes out snuff box. Will you have some? So Donna Laura, if it is good, it is of the finest, you will like it. So Donna Laura, taking pinch of snuff, it clears my head and mind. Do you sneeze? Yes, Senora, 3 times. And so do I. What a coincidence. So after taking the snuff, they await the sneezes both anxiously and sneeze alternately 3 times each. There I feel better. So do I aside. The snuff has made peace between us. So this point you need to underline, girls. So do I. The snuff has made peace between us. You will excuse me if I read aloud. Read as aloud as you please. You will not disturb me. So John Gonzalo, all love is sad, but sad as it is. It is the best thing that we know that it is from Camphor Murha. The daughter of the mothers I once loved kiss me now as they would a graven image. Those lines I take it hard in a humorous vein. So laughing, I take them so too. So here you can get the meaning for snuff, SNUFF, tobacco in the form of a powder for breathing into the nose. Tobacco in the form of powder for breathing into the nose. So the meaning for snuff, tobacco in the form of powder for breathing into the nose. So in here, live. First, we have seen Don Gonzalo, that his actions have been proved okay to be as a ill-natured person because he just behaves like a childish there. And later in the upcoming conversation here we see that again the conversation still proceeds between Don Gonzalo and Donna Laura. So Gonzalo, he rudely comments on her, okay, on Laura, because she was feeding the pigeons, and he starts to brush his dust from his shoes. So with this handkerchief, so what does he do? He, with his handkerchief, he starts to brush his dust from the shoes. So here Laura asks him, does you use handkerchief as a shoe brush? So Don Gonzalo, she replies, yes. So Donna Laura again, in a very humorous way, she tells that, or she asks whether he uses the shoe brush as his handkerchief. So see, after the heated conversation between Don Gonzalo and Donna Laura, here we see that they both become friends after enjoying a pinch of snuff. So that is very important, girls. So the conversation, the heated argument between Donna Laura and Don Gonzalo is going on. So they both become friends after enjoying only a pinch of snuff there. So here we see that that snuff was being given by Don Gonzalo to Donna Laura. So for one more question, you'll be getting it, girls. So see, after the heated argument between them, they take a pinch of snuff, which makes them feel very relieved, girls. So what made them to become the friends? Only a snuff there, a pinch of snuff. So here, after taking that, they sneeze simultaneously 3 times, and then they become the friends and they have a good relief. So soon after taking that sniff, the heated argument between them, it starts with a very friendly conversation. So what made them to become friend? It is a pinch of snuff. So here we see that before the conversation, as a conversation was going on, Gonzalo tells that he goes to the place called as Arvaca. So it is the neighborhood city of Madrid. Why does he go there? He goes along with his gun and dog to kill the to hunt there. So he tells he killed hares and partridges. So he tells that he has killed the hares and partridges, and he has told a few words about the camphor. Okay, reading all love is sad, but sad as it is the best thing that we know. So he reads a quote from Camphor, the poet. So this quote is also related to this play. Okay, the sunny morning, that it is also related about the love. So love, all love is sad, but sad as it is the best thing that we know. So what we know, it is that the love is very sad, but sad as it is. So he quotes or he reads read it very loudly from the Camphomer's code. So here we see then Don Gonzalo again, he reads, the daughters of the mothers I once loved kiss me now as they would a graven image. Those lines, I take it, are in a humorous vein. So they started to just read aloud about the Camphomer's quote, what they were talking about the love. So this is also symbolically, he tells the story about it is a love and the separation which was being the separation which happened between Donna Laura and Don Gonzalo. Yes, we'll move to the next. Yes, girls. I think we are running shortage of time. I'll finish up with this. There are some more, and